What's up guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Realistic Career Mode. This is episode number 2. And we start today's episode off by changing Nathaniel Shaloba's position to centre-back, as we discussed in the series opening. We brought him from Watford as a holding midfielder, but I think with his range of stats, really centre-back is where he should be playing. He's a very physical player, 73 strength, pretty mentally solid as well, reads the game well too, with some decent defensive stats. That's probably his joint best stat alongside, dribbling. I think he's a ball-playing centre-half, and you know I love my ball-playing centre-halves. He could do really well in this team long-term alongside James Tarkowski when we eventually phase the captain Ben Mee out of the starting 11. As I said before in the last episode, he spent time playing centre-half in his earlier days in his playing career. I think at youth level for England youth teams, under 21s, under 19s, I think he played centre-half there. And in his earlier days as well, he certainly was looking like a good ball-playing centre-half for Chelsea. Obviously, things didn't pan out exactly how he wanted in his career, but he's still got some really decent stats. And again, I think centre-back is where he should be playing. Gave him the stopper development plan as well. That'll give him a high defensive work rate and train those physical and defensive stats up too. And can I just say, I know this said a few times already throughout FIFA 21, but the development plans and the training in this year's game mode, I cannot praise it enough. I should say I cannot praise EA enough. It's fantastic. Such a stark improvement on years before. And fair play to them. Position changes is what we've wanted for so many years. I'm so glad they're part of the game now. And the development plans are a really nice bonus as well. Still, for the first game of today's episode, it was our first game at Turf Moor in this series. We took on Arteta's Gunners. Reece Nelson was ineligible to play in this game for the #realism. And on the back of the 3-0 loss away at Goodison Park against Everton in the season opener, I said this season, and I said for this series, what we're going to want, not just with realistic signings and sales, are realistic results as well. Now, heading into the game, I did up the sliders for Arsenal. It was a bit of a challenge, but I felt I played really well in this one. We took the lead through Quistwood in the second half, and it was 7 minutes to go. I gave him his debut, and he scored as well. Rico Henry, the former Brentford fullback, banging in our second in what was a very decent and credible 2-0 win. And again, I did improve the sliders just like they were in the Everton game to make this a real challenge for me, but to get the win 2-0 there against Arteta's side, I wouldn't say too unrealistic there. In fact, Burnley actually won at the Emirates Stadium this season away in North London against Arsenal. In this home fixture, we get the win 2-0 and our first 3 points of this season as well. So yeah, very pleased with the win, but if you're sitting there thinking, okay, here we go, already 2 games in, he's got a scalp, we know what we're going to see now. Burnley have a incredible season, finishing in 5th place, just missing out on the top 4. Look, think again, it's not going to happen. Yes, we might pick up a scalp here and there, just like you would see in real life, but for the most part, the games against the big boys are going to be incredibly challenging. So for our 3rd game of the season and our 2nd game in today's episode, this will be Chelsea away in West London at Stamford Bridge, and I gave the AI even more of a slider boost heading into the game. And that's why just 5 minutes in, I wasn't surprised to see we fell behind Timo Werner, who's had his struggles this season in real life for Chelsea, giving the Blues the opening goal of the game as they went 1-0 up. And in the first half, I'll be honest here, man, I was struggling mightily. But this is what I want to see though, as Werner banged in his second and Chelsea's second of the game, 6 minutes before the break. This is what I want to see. This is what I want to do as much as I can in this series. Give myself as much of a challenge as possible, especially in the big games like this, where if I am going to win, I'm going to have to sweat for it, you know what I mean? So I was 2-0 down at the break against Chelsea. Tried to go back in the game in the second half, decided to be very attack-minded, not just play damage limitation. Almost got back into the game as well. Jay Rodriguez getting sent forward, Mendy making a good stop though, as it was still 2-0. So got a foothold in the game in the second half, but I was really struggling to fend in this one. And the danger man, the guy that scored the first 2 goals, also got his hat-trick with 5 minutes to go. Timo Werner running to Thomas Tuchel to celebrate a 3-0 win for Chelsea. And real briefly on Werner, can I just say as well, he's come under so much criticism this season, and most of which you would say is justified. I think it's only 6 goals, all Premier League long, for the German striker. Look, don't get me wrong, the criticism, most of which again you would say is fair and probably warranted too, but if you look at his stats, he's been involved in a lot of goals for Chelsea this season. He's had a lot of assists, quite a few hockey assists, he's won some penalties as well. He's not been quite as bad as some people make him out to have been. I think he's been quite unfairly treated by the media and some pundits in this country. Maybe I'm always just very defensive of any new player coming into a Premier League when they've spent time playing across Europe or wherever else. It can take time to adapt. It can take time to get used to Premier League football, because it's totally different to any other league. But I think Werner this season has not been quite as bad as some people say. Again, yes, it's been a low return for goals, but he's still been involved in quite a few as well. And again, it's his first season. He's a young guy. Give him some time. I hope he'll come good for the Blues. Anyway, third game this episode was the EFL Cup second round. We took on the Chairboys Adams Park Wycombe Wanderers, the championship side. And you will see in my lineup, I picked a totally rotated 11 for the game because the EFL Cup, which I would like a cup run, is always my lowest priority in FIFA career mode. I've got far bigger fish to fry. The Premier League is, of course, my sole priority normally in the first 1 or 2 seasons. Though I would like a cup run this year, and the FA Cup and the EFL Cup, either of those, I wouldn't mind to see us go far in this one. Anyway, it was finished 1-1 after 90 minutes. And of course, nowadays, the EFL Cup goes straight to a penalty shootout if it finishes level after the first 90 minutes. And as soon as I realised I had penalties to take, I was thinking, okay, alright, we're probably going out. As many of you know, I'm shocking at penalties, but I had a chance to win it with Mbongo with our 5th penalty after some really poor penalties, and this one was just as bad as well. Yeah, spurned the chance to win it, and then we went into sudden death, and then I had another chance to win it through Matt Loughton, the right back, starting in this game against Yates from 12 yards, and again, failed to convert. Then McCarthy denied by Peacock Farrell, so for the 3rd straight time, I had the chance to send us through to the 3rd round. Nathaniel Shaloba, new signing, saved straight at the goalkeeper, and we still, after 3 straight attempts, couldn't score. I had a 4th straight attempt to send us through. Charlie Taylor, the left back, fails to score, and after Knight converted his, sending Peacock Farrell the wrong way, I was like, I deserve to go out. Basically, I deserve to go out. I've missed 4 penalties in a row. 4 straight chances to go through. I've missed every single one of them. Dale Stephens, new man in from Brighton, has it saved. Wycombe Wanderers go through. I'm out on the spot kicks. Look, I'm terrible at penalties. I'm just going to say this right now. I don't know what it is, but since the penalty system has changed over the past couple of years, I've just never been able to get to grips with it. I don't know why, but I just can't seem to do it. If I can defend myself a little bit here, and you're probably sitting thinking, how can you defend yourself after missing 4 straight penalties and 4 straight chances to go through in sudden death? If I can defend myself a little bit here, I do think the range expands way too quickly, and it gets way too big as well. If you're using a player that's got under 70 for his penalty rating, the circle just blows up like crazy, and so many times you'll be aiming for the bottom corner, you've barely put any power on it, but it'll go straight down the middle, and it's just very, very frustrating how, again, if you're using a player that doesn't have a very high penalty stat, it seems like it's unlikely you're going to get it even close to where you want it half the time. I do think it's something EA need to tone down and look at as well, because again, unless you're using players that have got really high penalty stats, the range expands like crazy. And I know when you're flicking the left stick, if you do move it after you've pressed the circle button to start your run up, it will become bigger. But even for quite a few penalties in that shootout there, I didn't touch it after I'd started the run up, and yet the range was still expanded to such a crazy level, even with only just the slightest bit of power. So yeah, I'm not going to defend myself too much here, but I think EA do need to tone it down a little bit. I'd say I missed like 3 out of 5 penalties, like 6 out of 10, which is quite a high level really. 60%, possibly even 70% of the penalties I take I miss, and that's just quite unrealistic. Yes, don't get me wrong, it is something I'm bad at, it is something I need to get better at, but I still think that it's a little bit too hard to score penalties at times. And again, as we know, if the goalkeeper goes the right way, 9 times out of 10 he saves it. That's not overly realistic, I would say. I mean, yeah, of course, if the goalkeeper goes the right way, he's got a great chance of stopping it, but not practically every single time. Anyway, that's my terrible defence of my terrible penalty taking skills over. We're at the EFL Cup, but again, to be honest, not really too fussed. And our 4th and final game this episode was at home to Aston Villa, taking on Dean Smith's side. This was a cracking game as well, really action-packed, loads and loads of great chances. In the end, it did finish as a 2-2 score draw. Dwight McNeil and Chris Wood, our goal scorer Sandro Tonali, got one early for Aston Villa in that game, and Davis levelled it right after the restart. 2 goals for Chris Wood in the first 4 games. I definitely think as though he will be our top scorer this season as well. You saw me reject a bid from Ajax at the start of the episode. I think if we're going to have any chance of breaking into the top 10 whatsoever, which is quite unlikely, it depends on the form of our New Zealand striker. I think he'll bang in most of the goals this year. I can't see us getting many more from other players outside of our main man up top. So after the game, it was transfer deadline day. I had a bit for Goodmanson, our Icelandic winger. Of course, I rejected it, and even though we had 18 million to work with on transfer deadline day, I didn't decide to do anything with the money we had remaining. And the main reason is quite simple. Yes, we could have been able to play here or there, but again, it would have been quite unrealistic. I think Burnley aren't the sort of side that make major moves on transfer deadline day, as I rejected 2 bids here for Nick Pope, one from the Saints and one from Hertha Berlin as well. But also, as we mentioned before in the very first episode, with Sean Dyche's transfer policy, how much did they spend this season on Dale Stephens? Because he's the only new signing they brought in for the campaign to their first team squad from Brighton, I believe. I think that's right, isn't it? I think that's right. Yeah, and they spent a measly £1 to £3 million on Stephens coming in. Sean Dyche is very shrewd in the transfer window, and again, that's sort of Burnley's philosophy. We want to do the same thing. It would have been quite unrealistic to make a big signing and a big wonder kid coming in for around 16 to 17 million on deadline day. It's not the sort of thing Burnley do. So yeah, transfer deadline day just blasted through really quickly, and you see our full deals for the window. As you can see, we spent, I think it was around 18 million on the 3 new players coming in, alongside Reece Nelson as well. We sold Matej Vidra and Eric Peters, and I would say realistically, to start the campaign off, our squad does look quite similar to what you would see in real life. The new men coming in, Stacey and Henry as our 2 new fullbacks, Nathaniel Shalhoub for the bench, and Nelson on loan from Arsenal as well. I think realistically, the start we've made in the game with the games we've played, 4 games in, 2 defeats, 1 draw and 1 win as well, sat in the bottom half of the table, and again, a relatively realistic summer transfer window. This series has started off exactly how I wanted it. Burnley aren't top with 4 wins out of 4. We've not got a lot of wonder kids in here. It's looking pretty realistic, and that's exactly what we want. So that was today's episode of the Realistic Criminal, guys. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you have done, please do drop a like. Much love to you all. Have a fantastic day, and I'll see you for the next episode very soon.